Okay,
Hi,
buddy. Hey, son. What are we doing?
we're doing my presentation.
Okay, why don't you go ahead?
The person I'm doing for my book report is named Fred Hodges. Fred Hodges was my great uncle and was a part of the famous Flying Tigers. His story has been told in many books about the Flying Tigers, which was a famous group full of Americans that wanted to fight the Japanese. The book I read was called The Lady and the Tigers by Olga Greenlaw. In 1941, we hadn't declared the war on the Japanese yet, and the Chinese were fighting them. Since China had no air force, they were completely destroying Burma and China. It was because of this President Roosevelt sent a bunch of American planes and fighters over to China. The person in charge of the AVG, or American Volunteer Group, was named Colonel Claire Chennault. It was this group that eventually became the Flying Tigers. Fred was one of those American pilots who had volunteered to fight against the Japanese. Fred Hodges was born June 28th in Loganville, Georgia, 1917. When he grew up, he became an American pilot and flew fighter planes. America had not yet declared war on Japan yet, but Fred still wanted to go help the Chinese. He met Claire Chennault and eventually took a boat to Rangoon. His nickname was Fearless Freddy, but unfortunately it wasn't because he was fearless. It was because he was afraid of all the gigantic bugs in Burma, which were probably about this big and this wide. They gave him the nickname because he was afraid. He hated all the big bugs that were everywhere. They just go. One of the things they would do while they weren't flying combat missions was go to bars or dances. My dad's family had all lived in Rangoon at the time, and my great aunt Betty Solomon introduced my other great aunt Helen Anderson to Fred. It was at this dance that Fred and Helen fell in love. Fred was a member of the 3rd Squadron called the Hells Angels, or if there's any people who are religious in the audience, Hex Angels. Later on, Fred's squadron moved to a small city called Loing, and this gave the Japanese the time they needed to shoot a bombing raid on Burma. My dad's family were in Burma at the time. Helen and Betty needed to move their families from Burma at this minute. Helen was only 20 at the time, and she left both of her parents in Rangoon, not knowing she would never see them again. Helen, to get to Loing, she had to walk across the entire Burma Road, which would take over a week and is over 100 miles. In the day, she would either walk or hitch a ride to get farther down the Burma Road. At night, she would have to sleep up in a tree to keep from getting killed or robbed. After over a week, she finally got to Loing and reunited with Fred, and they were married on April 2nd, 1942. Unfortunately, there was another bombing raid during the wedding, which probably caused all the guests to run for their lives. After America had declared war on Japan, President Roosevelt had sent American soldiers down to help into Burma and India to help the Chinese. It was because of this the American Volunteer Group was disbanded. After they were disbanded, Fred eventually went to England to fight the Nazis, while Helen moved from her home in Burma to America and started a whole new family there. Fred eventually was promoted to the rank of major and became a diplomat in Brazil after the war. He died in Orangevale, California in 1976. Helen Hodges has 2 grown daughters and lives somewhere in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was because of this one woman that I am an American today. I chose Fred because he's a great man, and I learned so much about my family history. Thank you.
That's awesome, buddy. Hey, you want to show us your jacket? What's the jacket about?
It's
Stand up. No, don't take it off. Model it.
It's the Flying Tiger jacket. This was the Flying Tiger logo that Walt Disney created. And this is the Hells Angels logo, who I really don't know who created this
One of the pilots drew that.
Yeah, probably.
Uh-huh.
And on the back is the Chinese bloodshed.
Uh-huh. What does the bloodshed mean?
The bloodshed means when they got to China, the Chinese wouldn't know if they were trying to kill them or not, and it meant this person is helping you, do not kill this person.
Oh, okay.
And this is like the Chinese American flag. I don't know.
Yeah. China, Burma, India theater. So that's just the part of the world
The
that
sun
the
is
soldiers
China.
were fighting.
Yeah, the sun is
sun.
the China, and
Yeah.
the stars the Americans.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it. No, I'm pretty
That's
much.
it. Awesome, buddy. Good job. Good luck.
Thanks, Dad.
Bye-bye.